they don't need to. But I'll give you a very basic overview of law.
What about the super light thing?
Superstar sequencer I would stay away from. It's expensive. It's mostly for use with the CCR, cosmic colour ribbon stuff, which is LOR proprietary stuff, which is 5 times the price of anything you can get from Ray Williams. So I don't think most people are going down that path at all. So, I mean, yeah, I've never touched it or used it. But
if you want to play with it, I'll put it on here, but it's...
I thought it was meant to be a plug-in. Sorry,
it's a plug-in.
It became a plug-in for LOR.
It's $300 for a 2 ribbon or something.
yeah, you've got to pay a ridiculous amount of money just to control like a few universes worth of pixels. So it's just not, for the average DIY, it's not really an option. And especially when you've got things like Vixen coming out and whatever else, if you want to go into pixels, then it's kind of... So we'll wait and see what they do, whether they take a different approach or not, because they are getting left behind in that area, I think. But we'll give you a quick overview of the basic law setup. So what we might do is start a new sequence from scratch. So basically, you can do animation sequences or musical sequences. You're normally going to start with a musical sequence. It requires you to select your media file first. So we'll just pick whatever Alan's got here. Top. And your channel setup. So you can specify here how many channels. Now, the first thing you'll notice is there's no option to choose like RGB channel setup or anything like that. It's basically standard DC channels.
That's 32 DMX channels.
So that's 32 single channels.
Look, if you go on the next one down, the channel template thingy,
Yes.
if you grab that,
You can use an existing one, yep.
use one of my existing ones, that way the visualizer will be put into it.
Ah, okay, well that might be better. Any 2013 tests?
Yeah, one.
Try that. Right, so I'll use a template in this situation. I would normally start with the timing with a 10th of a second grid. The thing I love about LOR is it gives you really good, precise control when you're looking at your grid. And you can create new grid timings as well, and you can get right down to very small time slices, which lets you do very timing specific things, which is nice, particularly not so much from a pixel point of view, but if you're doing anything that's regular, dumb RGB type stuff or single string stuff, it's really, really good. So we'll use a fixed timing grid and this is an it's talking about animation. Yeah, but it comes up with this one, how many channels is animation. Maybe we have to
Put a check in that
Oh,
radio
that
button.
one might actually be a dud template. Try that one.
I don't think I like that one for some reason. It says it's an animation, but yeah. Why doesn't it like it? Is that all the ones you've got?
Who knows? I've probably got dozens more over there.
As you can tell, we're super organised here.
Light-O-Rama.
Half a second.
And here, negatives. 2013. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, any one of those.
Let's try like this. It says in go number 12, so
But do you have to select that?
No, not if you're using the template.
I don't know what the template's like.
Okay, we're not going to use it.
Weird. Right, well, let's just do audio channel. This one's in there. Fixed time and grid. Right, so there's our 48 channels. Blah. So you're going to do the left hand side. Maybe Yeah,
Didn't want to open it
it's
before.
still logged off and stuff. Weird. Okay, so this is one of Alan's pre-saved configs, so he's already got everything set up. It's kind of cool. So the nice thing with LOI is, well, it's pretty standard now with all sequences. You can group your channels, or you can so you have a bunch of them. It's converted into a group like this, so it's just a nice little neat. You just press that and it drops down. You can see each channel individually. Let's have a look up here. This is where the tools and stuff are. So, do you have any RGB stuff, Alan, in your things, or is this all
Yeah,
mostly?
scroll further down and that's like everything at the bottom to RGB, which is just off the bottom of the screen.
Oh. Is any of this stuff on? Oh, okay.
It's just off the bottom.
Okay. I can't see. Just go there. There we go.
Yeah, all that
Okay,
stuff,
yeah.
all stuff in black here.
Right, so this is RGB stuff here. Right, so he's grouped his RGB channels into individual items or elements, whatever you want to call them. So you can see if I click this, you've got DMX Universe 1, and it tells you the 3 channels it uses. If we want to do, so you've basically got, you can set the intensity manually of something. You can do a fade up and a fade down. I tend to use this tool here, the intelligent fade, because you can just click it and then drag, like so. And it'll automatically go, if I drag this way, it'll fade down. If I drag the other way, it fades up. It's really hard not using an external mouse. I prefer the round view as well, which makes me feel sharp. But it's just a personal preference. Okay. In terms of colours, with this you've got a colour tool palette over here. So you click that and it brings up your colours, so you can just drag from here to here, and it'll do your red to green. Then you can actually, if you want to swap it, you just click swap and drag from there to green to red. So that's all fairly basic standard stuff. You can do chases using the chase key. Let's jump across to something different here. We'll restrict this. Alright, so if I wanted to go from blue to red, then I could drag that here, for example, and then I can use the chase key. And I can drag that down right to the bottom, and it will automatically do that chase for me. So that's quite handy. I use that a lot. What else have we got up here? We've got colour fade, we've done that. The fill, I don't use the fill that much. The rest is fairly straight. You've got your twinkle and shimmer, classic LOI things, which I think everyone's pretty familiar with. The custom effects you can do over here, so you can do something like basically that lets you do things like ramping, shimmers and things like that, which is kind of cool. And if most of you would have seen the Holden light display, which is pretty famous, and his Amazing Grace, and it basically starts kind of low and builds up, and that's basically what this is a ramping shimmer effect, and it's quite impressive, it's quite cool. So we use that a little bit in our show as well. I think that's probably that, or at least in terms of the inbuilt tool effects for the standard law sequencer. So I'll quickly show you how to do things like set up your networking stuff. So you go to network preferences, and basically now using DNS. So here is where you specify if I'm going to use standard OpenDNX type adapter. It'll appear in here. Usually FTDI ones have their own little ID number, so you just select whichever one it is and away you go for that universe. Or if you're using E1.31 stuff, you come over here and say, okay, you can use unicast or multicast. I would recommend if you're doing a show and using E1.31 stuff, it's good to use multicast and just have a dedicated router for your light. So like a lot of people try and run the thing off home network and try and use unicast stuff, which you can do and that's fine, but multicast is great if you can just have a dedicated router and away it'll go. You don't have to worry about specifying individual IPs for university, etc.
So with multicast, right, or E131 stuff, right, what's in the actual packet?
Ones and zeros.
Yeah.
Zeros
No,
and
but,
ones.
so does it say like DMX channel, universe, and then whatever the value is? And is it, can multiple be
What's
in one
actually
packet?
in the E131 packets?
Well, I think
Like it's not one packet for one channel, is it? The
No.
packet's full of multiple.
No, it's got 512 slots. So it's a whole. So one packet contains basically a whole universe. So there's the data, plus there's some other header stuck in there. So things like the universe number. There's a few other bits and pieces. There's 68 bytes of header, I think, off the top of my head.
yeah,
Just trying to remember that.
But is one packet restricted to a universe, or can a packet have multiple universes?
No, it's one packet per universe.
So that's the downside. So having multiple universes, that means the PC's got to output multiple packets.
Where Beaky says he's not putting full universes out, you're pumping out more data, but realistically it's not working the PC
No.
or the router or anything
You can
like
have two
that.
controllers and put them in the same universe, and then to service those two controllers, you only need one packet.
Yes.
Yes.
Tomorrow I'm doing a talk about
Yeah, I think Andrew-
multicast and talk about some of those things.
yeah, so Andrew will cover multicast and cast tomorrow, so I won't go into the depths of it now, but yeah.
Fishing cast, more preferable.
Anyway, so that's basically horizontal, and we'll shrink it as well. Stuff like that, so you can work like that. So it's all fairly standard stuff that you would have seen. What else?
So if that's got music against it, you can actually hear it as you do that?
Yeah, so
You
it
wait
plays.
fine.
It'll play the.
Unlike, I think, both Vixen and LSB,
Can you hear? You can hear that.
Oh,
don't play too much.
Oh no, space bar. Stop.
You can actually move these to suit wherever you want.
Yes.
I've kind of put those where they were. They're almost kind of in order across my yard.
That's how cool visualize that.
That's right.
Only Alan can understand that.
Oh yeah, 2 meters deep.
Well, that's about 60 metres wide and 35 metres deep, what you're seeing there. So.
35.
Is this Light-O Pro?
Oh,
Oh,
Crashed it.
No,
Close the
it's
screen.
crashed.
Put it on the board.
Where's Beaky? I'm in Beaky's seat, that's the problem.
Did we get a crash?
No.
I think it was a series of crashes. We'll see after who's got the record for the number of crashes at the end of the day.
You said it was an old PC you've got.
Oh, this is an old PC.
Yeah,
It's maybe as much as 7 years old. So I don't really know.
But that is one of the advances also of Light-O-Rama. It doesn't need a huge powerful computer to run.
No, it's
that's right.
it's a Pentium dual core or something else.
Unless you start doing pixel stuff with it, okay.
Yeah.
Then you need some RAM. But, and just a quick thing, if you're going to use Nutcracker with this, you might highly recommend using the 4 gig patch. You'll also only use 2 gig of your operating system's resources.
I deleted a whole heap of duplicate files on my computer recently. So none of my sequences are going to work properly. I'll find a media file to attach to it. So there we go. No problem with it.
You'll read that.
I quite like that.
There we go.
You can have as many visualizers open as you want, but it will actually only output onto one of them. So for instance, I've got a full yard there. If I had multiple monitors, which I don't, I could have one of them simply by stopping and starting here. I could have one of them doing my face, which has been sitting uncompleted for 2 years now. One of these days I'll get the face done. So I could have one of them just doing the face, so I could check the sync with the face, one doing the mega tree, one doing whatever, or I can just chop and change between them as well. Memory could not be read. I've never ever seen that error.
That never happens.
The memory could not be read.
Click before something.
So, I don't know about you guys, but I actually don't even use a visualizer when I'm sequencing, even with pixels and stuff. Now, some people might find it helpful. I suppose it depends on the displays or whatever.
Yeah.
Because our display's been the same for so many years, we're so used to the layout and the format. And I can just picture it in my head when I do it, and I don't
Just don't change it.
Yeah, well, maybe also.
Just as a,
But the time it takes to set up a visualizer like that,
I was just going to say something. In the program, I'm not trying, just as a comparison, the use of visualizers is almost about zero. You actually go and build it, and then you program it, sitting in front of it, looking at it, and that's what they do. So even like the, so I was up near Chicago, one of the big lighting companies up there, and they've got this huge rehearsal space. It's probably, the ceiling's probably 20 metres tall, and it's big enough to put an entire stadium rig in for a band. And they were doing, that terrible girl that jumps on that ball.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Everyone knew who you were talking
Millie
about.
wasn't here, fortunately. But they built the entire lighting rig, and they were, and the guys sit there for hours on end at 3 a.m. in the morning, and they finish it. And even like, and I've seen that on multiple shows, is that it's all built and it's sequenced the week before it goes live, and that's how they work. So it's, and these are multi-million-dollar touring shows and stuff. It's just different. That's why they all look haggard and smoke expensive drugs probably. Sometimes I wonder if actually having the visualization tools actually help you, whether you actually would do a better job by just building it and then sitting there one night and sequencing it on one night doing it.
They're doing it in the garage or the
You don't have
bedroom.
big
They
enough
haven't got
garage?
space to be putting your whole display up.
It's got me interested.
For us.
He's actually got a tree/matrix in his roof, and he has to play with new sequences for X lights, and then just basically looks up to see, to literally see the live effects as soon as he's finished doing the coding. And if you see, and he's basically got a tree hung up above, something, a matrix or something above his head.
It's just nothing like it, having it, it's got to be going by 8 o'clock in the morning. or you're fired for
Yeah.
new business.
I'll just store the mega tree in the master bedroom on the ceiling.
That's what I like about Showtime, is because where my study is, I'm right at the front corner of my house, and you're supposed to have my mega tree right outside the window. So during that show month, at 1 or 2 in the morning when everyone's off, I'm sitting there watching how the trees going, but listening. I'm trying different things, no audio, but just trying all different things with the tree. And often the neighbours will say, "Oh, I saw your tree flashing late night. What was going on?"
Why was it flashing your finger out?
Blame Alice, must have gone.
But you're right, though,
Fire
it's
the wrong
nothing better than
time.
having it live.
Trying pictures on his Christmas tree.
It's when you have those DMX flamethrowers, that's actually when the
I saw some machines in China at the last show. They're called Cold Fire. And there's this city in China, I'm just remembering what it's called, which is the fireworks city, which basically, if you live in that city, you make fireworks. But they have these cold fire things, and it's not fire, but it kind of looks like an hour DMX control. And I was thinking I need some of those, but it might be a bit illegal. Places like Australia and New Zealand,
Some guy selling.
might have some.
Some guy's selling these things where you put gas canisters, like, you know, the barbecue cooktop.
Yeah,
You get gasoline, you put gasoline in it, and it basically sparks it and lets the gas out. But it's not waterproof. So let's fire it, but it's not waterproof. So
Gunpowder works quite. Gunpowder and fuse wire works quite good. The problem is that like detonation time's a little bit unpredictable. Just put 12 volts across a piece of fuse wire. Short circuit it. Pack some gunpowder.
That gladiator effect, the very bottom there,
This one, where you
which only got added a couple of days ago, and I saw a tutorial on last night.
haven't seen one this week.
It does some
Is it good?
very quick imports from Gladiator, which is a sort of a live, it's a baby matrix.
It's a freeware matrix.
It's a very baby freeware matrix, which its biggest issue is it doesn't have the D131. It's stripped, but you can stream to a .gled file, and you can import it into Nutcracker.
I thought it was going to be lions and people that get eaten by
No,
disappointed.
no tries.
Different to my loader.
Yeah. So Sean's actually giving us a demo of this tomorrow morning live.
Yeah, so we could go into the whole Nutcracker thing and do it, but Sean's going to talk about that. So basically what you do if you're using Law and you're using 1.31 is you create your effects here in Nutcracker, and then you export them like doing a model. I've got to open a sequence, blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
November last year, I think.
It's been 6 months away, so it's a bit nasty. I think that's let me do it. Okay.
It's when you get Alzheimer's, you've really got no chance in this stuff because you don't use it all the time.
If you add a,
It's unusual to use X-Lights.
it's a bit weird because it's a bit unintuitive. Like you have to set up a row in here for each effect that you want to add, and you have to manually say, okay, I want to stick this effect here to appear at this point in the sequence based on the time. So
A bit like a spreadsheet.
yeah, it's almost like a spreadsheet grid, and you just create rows and then you sync up the time, and you have to listen to the song and say, at this point in the song, I want this effect turned on, and then add it to the grid. And when it hits that point, it'll start playing. And then you tell them to stop, and when it hits that point, it'll stop playing. And so it's very manual like that.
Yeah.
So you preview it over here, a vase effect with a butterfly.
There's some nice effects there.
Yeah, like the effects generation is really good.
We'll look at that on the Coro Star. Probably won't work. So that looks pretty.
So that'll start from time 0 in the sequence. Now he can have another row that says at 5 second mark, stop that effect and start a different one. And so you keep adding rows at different timing points in your sequence, wherever you want those effects to occur.
Or they go Coro Stars.
Yeah. You can do a preview of there as well. It'll play the song. Yeah.
It doesn't actually do it. Doesn't do it. You've got to do a save or something. This is actually that's actually the last sequence I had saved.
Oh, okay.
Because I haven't saved it. It doesn't actually,
Yeah,
preview doesn't preview what's live, and the previews what's saved.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
That's what I was talking about yesterday.
Yeah. So you can create your models in here as well. If you want to go to models and go new, you can create a new model and say, I want a new mega tree, whatever.
All you can do is
360, I'll give you those, 50, where it sounds good. So it's pretty easy to create models in Nutcracker as well. It's not that hard.
It's not working.
I think there's limitations on like pixels across and stuff like that from memory, but it's pretty good. Like you can create most kinds of objects out of, and you can model them using the model creator and create custom models for different things.
It's freeware. It's updated nearly every week. Sean does a tutorial about every Friday morning our time, Thursday night his time that it is. Just so that basically the new effects, there's bucket loads of tutorials saved on his sites on how to do stuff. It's the tool used to convert to the Raspberry Pi. You convert, you create a sequence with X-Lite, with LSP, with LAW, with Vixen 2, with HLS, everything except for Vixen 3, and you can save it onto that there and have that as your show computer with at least one HDMI output. I think it's two. I'm not really certain. I haven't done that yet. It's one, isn't it? Yeah, I haven't plugged video into it at all.
In any case, that's very cool from Ford. That's
It's
HDMI video out plus
audio out and
120 millimeters.
Just make sure you don't power it off the USB.
Yeah.
off the computer USB. It's the hard design to run off a USB plug, but off a power supply normally.
They were developed in the UK.
That's right.
So basically there was a BBC Micro. There was a company called Acorn that produced the BBC Micro, and it was designed for the education market. It was sponsored by the BBC originally, and that was used throughout the UK for education. And it was designed to be a cheap computer for students to learn about electronics and control Lego robots and all that sort of stuff. And this is like 20 years ago, right? It started, and then basically some people said, well, that's missing from the education these days. Some cheap thing that kids can take home and experiment with and all that sort of stuff. Not that the BBC computer was that cheap at the time, but it was cheap relative to everything else out there. And so they decided to design the Pi for that purpose. So the original BBC Micro computer, the thing it replaced, which was the Archimedes, was based on the own chip, and it basically released that.
It's very cool.
And it has the same power as the original. It has more power than the original computer that it was designed 20 years ago.
It's a heap more power than what's running Voyager.
And
it's
if you
out of
ask
the
Chris
sources.
nicely, he'll print the 3D case. 50,000 or not.
yes.
Yeah, you can print, you can download, you go to Thingiverse.
If you want to make a box for it.
The case is around $9 anyway, I think.
$9 plus the
$9 or $400.
Gary,
We can put
for a week and a half.
Put it to RGB and 3D print and put it right in the platform.
you are
Change the element, guaranteed.
Word on the
to
wiki
destroy
for
the
the
job.
giving the spot on.
Own shares and others.
Eh?
Own shares and others.
Like brilliant.
3D printing is still
I think you get it.
I reckon Rod could be up now.
Is there any questions with this sort of stuff? LORs are really pretty straightforward to use as a sequencer. It's not complicated. It's one of the original ones. So it's,
Okay, so you export this and then what do you do?
okay, so for this you would do a model export like this. And basically what I would do is you export to the LOR clipboard. Okay, you give it a file name, whatever. It's probably going to complain, and you can choose the model.
Just overwritten that one's
Yeah, I was going to say, I say we call test all the time when I'm playing
I
that.
think capitals is a different.
It doesn't matter. It's exactly the same thing as what I type, and I'm not doing a real one.
So you do an export to the LOR clipboard. I find it's the best way to do it. Then you can just so you keep both programs open. You shrink this, and you open your LOR, and in here you're going to have which is gone because it's crashed. Doesn't it? No.
It's not crashed before.
Oh, dull. In your LOR grid, you're going to have all your channels set up, all your RGB channels for your E1.31 stuff, and you'll open the LOR clipboard, and it'll have that file saved that you've just exported from Nutcracker, and you literally say, okay, I want to plonk it in this cell, starting in the top left corner, and you just hit paste, and it'll just paste all individual channels in for you straight out of Nutcracker.
You basically click on there, right click, and paste if there was something in the clipboard. And that's how easy it is to
It's very easy to transfer across. Although if you've got a lot of pixels, it can take a while, but it's not too bad.
It does I think it's a 20th or a 30th or something. It's a very fine grid that uses by default, too. Not 10th of a second, but most of it's used.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very high density grid, and you can convert it afterwards, but
It's not really something times.
yeah.
Maybe like 20 minutes every minute. But yeah, it works well once you understand how to use it. You've used it a couple of times and you get familiar with it. I mean, it's not as nice as an integrated solution like a Vixen might be or whatever, but it works. It's reliable. We used it last year with 12,500 channels, and it was fine. So
Is there a preference, like there's different types of LOR licenses, is there a preference?
Yep.
What sort of general?
Law Advanced is the only one because it's the only one that does DMX and E131. If you're first timers who've got a single weight AC box, which a few of them buy first off, you can buy the basic version, which will do two boxes, which you can actually do a reasonable display with. You've just got a few windows surrounds and stuff like that. But once you start buying DMX boards, you need the advanced, or you get cunning and you can export from your 2-sequence thing into X lights, which will play as many of those sequences as you really feel like out to DMX devices. But just buy it. It's cheap. $150, I think it is, for the more advanced or something like that.
yeah, it's very cheap. Yeah.
And that's not a limited time usage.
Unlimited
It's
times.
unlimited channels. It's as many as your computer will do.
Until you electrocute yourself, you can keep using it.
A year of upgrades, or
You guys already done that.
it's a version limit or something like that as
You've already
well.
done that a few times, haven't you?
So it's a physical
Yeah,
dongle.
that's 2 years old. That was a copy.
Or when it's right.
So is that a physical dongle or is it licensed to a computer?
240 notes. Very careful.
Software
Software license.
Yeah, software license 5 seat, which I'm a couple of seats into it, which is
Yeah, year 5.
it's on my father-in-law's computer, which is theoretically, and it's not meant to be for your own personal use, but I've got it on 3 of the computers at home, plus the father-in-law's one, because I had
Is your backup show?
on my backup, I changed license. I accidentally went to version 3.9 on this thing here, which I wasn't licensed to go to, and I couldn't find my key to go back to version 3.8, so I had to change computers to one of my other ones, which was allowed to hook. So I had long audio and stuff cables to go from where everything was set up ready to go into my desktop computer. So I disconnected chat so that it wasn't donging away through my show, and had to remember not to jump on YouTube while the show was going or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done that. That's right. That's when you've mapped it across the whole front of the answer.
Tree goes up.
Oh, and one last thing if you're using LOR. Don't forget
Oh,
to.
it's on the desktop.
Where is it?
That's called the twinkle.
It's on the desktop.
Tinkle.
Bottom right hand corner almost.
Yes. Don't forget to turn the control panel on before you actually load your shot. Otherwise, you won't get anything.
Only if you're using law controllers, doesn't matter. Law only controllers. If you're using DMX, it requires that little thing to pop up,
Yeah, listen.
the comm listener, which is trying to talk to the USB dongle, which is in my laptop case there,
So it's got
and
that.
the E131
Okay.
Okay, no.
D2, P2, which is downstairs and obviously isn't plugged in, but it's only it's basically looking for the dongle there. It's just going to keep looking and won't find it obviously.
So that little light bulb in the bottom right hand corner tray, that's got to be, I think it's blue.
It goes blue when it's
enabled.
no, it goes blue when there's a show enabled.
Oh, that's right.
Something scheduled. So there's a fair few people get bitten in the bum by not having the control panel going when they're trying to play DMX for the first time.
Yeah. Alright, that's probably ready.
So can you export from LOR out into the
Yeah,
Yes. Actually, I
LSP will import law, Vixen will import law,
X-Light.
X-Light will convert from everything to everything except for Vixen 3.
It's because Vixen 3 is 2 years.
It's over a year old. It's not a real. It's a weird format, and it's just nothing that I don't think they've actually given a protocol that they're fixed with, because it's changing from release to release how they
It's
do
not like an
things.
XML file.
Yeah, like Law and others have saved us an XML file, which you can read and edit with a text editor if you really feel like it. If you open the XML files for a thing, you can actually see that at 001, no, 111, what's 100th of a second, centiseconds, it tells you that it's starting a fade up or something like that. You can physically read in clear text what the channels are doing. If you really feel like it, you can play and edit it
If you've got that much
yourself.
time.
Yeah.
Alan has.
No, I've actually edited channels
We've
that
got
way.
a channel copy of that as well.
Yeah. There's some checker, I don't know what it was because I didn't realise it was there until maybe early this year.
The verify?
The verify
Yeah,
thing,
verify.
which will check your sequences to make sure that you haven't got channel overlaps, channels that haven't got assigned outputs, audio files missing like I had there before.
Yeah, that's actually, if you've got a lot of sequences in your show and stuff like that, it's quite useful to run it.
Yeah,
It'll pick up little things you forget. Like
I had last year, I'd moved, like I've deleted audio files from one, I have a year's worth of folders where I keep this year's sequences and songs. But when I've got a program for cleaning out duplicate files, surprisingly enough, the songs from 2012 and 2013 are the same, and without me looking at the hundreds of files that are duplicates, I just hit delete, and I suddenly find out that I'm missing songs for this year. Last year I was trying to work out why I only had about 3 songs playing the first night, because I'd done that same thing. I'd deleted duplicate files and all my audio files are missing.
it's got a couple of little nice things like that. I don't know if the other sequence packages have that.
I don't know. But while it's doing it, actually gives you, if we open that up again, yes, I know it's not there. It's in that laptop case over there. No, it'll be telling you there.
It's not good enough, it doesn't tell you it's in the laptop.
That's right.
Get it.
Yeah,
Get it out. Yeah.
somewhere, will actually be on that screen, I think. When it's playing, I think it's that screen. No, it's not. It's if you double click that. That will actually tell you that it's,
Yes.
when it's fetching songs, that'll all get reported on there. If it's missing a song, for instance, they'll come up with an error. So if you want to go through and look at that, that's how I actually found out that I was missing audio, the audio tracks. I had a look on there and it says that it's some sort of error saying it was missing the audio tracks. it's very low resources law. I go out the front, look at my lights while they're going. I think I've got Coro stars over there that aren't doing anything for 2 minutes at a time. While the show's running, I'll go back in, get into the sequencer, have a play with a sequence, add some stuff, save it, and when that goes to play the next time around, those things are added. It was prior, I think version 3.7, as soon as you saved one of the sequences that was in it, it would automatically start the sequencing, that your schedule again. Now it just picks it up wherever it picks it up. This bit of gear is amazing. When Sean shows it, it's weird to use.
That's it there. You can overlay effects, so effect one, effect two, you can simultaneously overlay one over the other, and you can do masking and stuff like that. It's quite,
And the Gladiator
quite powerful.
here, it can do even more effects over the top of each other, and then you can put those Gladiator effects over other Gladiator effects within this thing here. And it's those effects where they had Rod and Beaky were showing the stuff going down trees and stuff like that. You can do that in no time at all on your entire display, going across like that via the Gladiator effects, where it's got something going from one side to the other. Import that into there, put that over your entire show, and it's a few seconds to do it from Gladiator, which produces the effect of this, which uses it. And it's an awkward way of doing it, but it does it incredibly fast. But Sean's the man to talk. He knows everything about it.
Yeah.
But he's responsible for Nutcracker, and which was imported into X Lights, which was written by someone else.
It used to be separate products, didn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, well, it used to, Nutcracker was a web-based thing, but when everyone started using it, it was gobbling huge amounts of Sean's bandwidth on his site and crashing his site because it's doing a lot of number crunching. So it then became a plug-in for the computer, which I think is what Beaky might have been using. And I think Steve was using it as well.
That's right. There was a web page. You bumped in your tree, and then
Yeah.
the web page had spat out a file.
Yep.
And then this guy said, "Oh, okay. What I'll do is I'll take all your formulas and I'll put it into this into X Lights."
Yeah. Yeah, Matt Brown asked Sean if he could basically put Nutcracker into it, and then now there's actually a group of about 5 of them doing regular updates.
He's updated a lot.
Yeah, Sean does the Nutcracker side of it. Matt's doing a lot of the overall stuff, and there's another ones who do individual plug-in based parts of it. I don't know if Dave does anything of that. He does the pie. There's a few other names of the guys that were on the stream yesterday that got mentioned. Robertson, I think, is one of them. But they just do individual parts or individual effects where they. It's weird maths. I've got no idea how the hell you render those things there in real time. And
I noticed also, I think LOR bought the
Yeah,
license
they-
from Sean to the code, the Nutcracker, and so I think what they might be trying to do is get that integrated into LOR
yeah,
as
which,
a single package, rather than having to do this creation, export, blah, blah, blah.
Because they tried with Superstar and it hadn't
Yeah.
really
Yeah, that was a bad-
Superstar's a flop,
Yeah.
so I'd stay away from it. It's not
So
it's
the
not
Star
price.
was developed by another bloke.
It was
Yeah.
developed for
it was a standalone
CCR.
program. No, there was actually a standalone program.
Was it?
Eddie said he used to use it prior to
Thought it was
prior to the LSP days, back when it was possibly using Vixen or something there, and then got Brian Bruder as the guy. then got bought by Law and implemented to suit the CCRs and stuff, which Law had at the time, but they had no way of sequencing the CCR. So basically, got
The guy who made that Superstar, right?
Yeah.
He had Law products, so
Yeah.
he designed it for Law products because that's what he was using.
Yeah.
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 And so he liked the ribbons, particularly designed it for the
Yeah,
ribbons.
that's right. Yeah. But it costs you about $300 to do about 2 ribbons. That's the only issue.
it's there somewhere.
There is a website just for that product,
Yeah.
which has got his original guy. The guy who wrote the product originally has got all his YouTube videos.
That, that's my visualizer, which will actually import a visualizer file, and it attempts to map that to CCR ribbon, like the colour cosmic ribbons from Law. I can't show you the audio file, what it does to it, because it's by audio. But you can actually do automatic sequencing with that. It's a matter of fiddling around. You can do nice effects, but no nicer than Nutcracker. And it's bloody expensive. It cost me a couple of... I think this one cost me $150 when I upgraded from Law 3.5 to 3.8 or something like that there. If I realised it was going to be that much, I might have gone to the higher number of ribbons because it wasn't much more at the time, but now it's become redundant. And the people that are using it, which is one of the guys on the forum who's complaining it doesn't do enough ribbons, because he has got a lot of ribbons. He has a lot of CCR ribbons. He's after like 64 ribbons or something like that there, and each one's, what are they, like 150 pixels long or something, and
Yeah, I'm not sure.
but they're
It's not much. Like it's
$200 each or something, and he's got bloody 64 of the things that he's playing with, and they are genuine CCR ribbons. And Andy Harrison, I think it is, who's gone a bit missing from the forum, but he's a pretty regular there with big channel counts and a lot of CCR ribbons. But it just doesn't support enough to go big pixel counts. It's expensive.
It's expensive. You wouldn't head down that path if you were going. More you go down that path.
And it's
Pick your own.
It's the weirdest of all the formats of all how you sequence. I can't.
I've never used it.
I choose the auto sequence part of it a few times to generate some effects, which I plonked back into Law while I was lazy.
Yeah, I think the fact they brought the code rights for X-Lights, I think we're going to see this disappear fairly soon, and hopefully get inside sequencer and stuff.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Well, I like one of the best parts of Nutcracker is the ability to draw the trees and stuff, because in Law, drawing trees and stuff is horrendous. Once you've drawn stuff, you can physically rotate it, shrink it, do whatever, copy, paste it, do all sorts of things. But the automatic tools for doing the zigzag and stuff like that aren't there. What tools are there are designed for the CCRs rather than individual pixels or pixel strips or any of those sort of things.
Yeah.
It's good, Law's good, it's easy, it's cheap, but it's limited.
Yeah, I mean, the main reason we used it is because we had an older display that just used standard stuff, and so we've done all our sequencing around Law, so it made sense.
You're used to it,
Yeah, and we're used to the interface and to the way the timing grid works and blah, blah,
People
blah.
don't like changing around.
Yeah.
Just a learning curve.
Yeah, well, so to start using LSP from scratch and like a long while, we just thought, it's not worth the time.
Shell, who everyone knows of course, she did her first year with
That
Law.
machine in New
That,
Zealand.
that machine, yeah. She started with Law,
You
and
brought her across your front lawn, sir, Andrew.
Yeah.
She ran out of space.
Yeah, as far as
She's a bloody woman, she's not that past out.
so she started with Law and had 5,000 channels, maybe the first year or something large. Then went to LSP, spent a fair bit of time there. Ended up going on to the LSP beta team.
Oh, yeah.
Was on there for maybe a month or so and got sick of reporting bugs. She has gone back to LOR, but she's using she's actually getting bugs where they'd release a new beta release. They wouldn't have things like it wouldn't open a sequence, and so they'd send the beta thing it wouldn't open a sequence. And unfortunately, with LSP, sometimes you got to do an OS reinstall to clean it out. Then she got completely sick of it and has gone back to law, and she's up maybe 27,000 channels or something monstrous like that.
Started a 15,000 channel matrix.
Yeah, she's enormous display, and she's running that with law, which is probably one of the biggest law displays out there now.
That's when it must be out working out 3 shifts 7 days a week. I think that's what they're having.
Yeah, it's almost.
I don't know where she stores it all.
Oh, I don't know, she's got a
She
little
runs
garden.
She's got to get a little house.
A little garden.
Yeah, a little garden.
It's in the
She's
front of it.
Is
It's
that
got
the
spread out
hallway?
in the kitchen.
Shoved into the storage cupboard.
She just stayed, she finds it stayed flux, so it's
Yeah,
don't have to store it.
there's just more and more stuff every day. She's going, I'm going to add some more stuff, so she's on the ray again. And
She's always had
Every couple of months she's got a new project.
well, she's actually got to the point where she's got talking with the council and the police on traffic control.
yeah, that's
She'd
right.
have a meeting with the council about a month or so ago about traffic control,
Yeah.
because they literally line up on her road hours beforehand to
Yeah.
see the thing.
She's still negotiating, she reckons.
Yeah.
When I've spoken to her during the week.
Yeah, I heard someone in the US or something like that.
Yeah,
the show became famous.
There's a guy in Brisbane too, he closed his down because it,
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's
the
he-
one.
has to close it down for a year to
yeah.
get the clearance down. Became unsafe, the number of cars in the street.
You know, she has not drive. I imagine you can't drive through her past her display at all because there's literally
Near a river.
500 people sitting at the front on lawn chairs and billabongs and
The biggest show in town.
you know, yeah. I think she was saying got something like $20 donations in a night or something like that. Out of all these hundreds of people, she's getting no donations at all.
That's because it's in Auckland.
They're all tied up there, are they?
That's still, Auckland's full of. We'd happily sell Auckland to Australia.
It's a live show.
In fact, we'll pay you to take it away.
In New Zealand dollars?